Okay, so I went back and talked to Joyce, and I talked to Everett, and there might be some reason to talk to them, but as far as I can tell, it's just like, sit rep stuff. Maybe it is important. I wanna finish this game. I truly am running out of time. And that puts me in a not-so-hot place. I mean, these games are long, just to begin with, so that's always hard to work around. And I can't imagine at this point that would affect the outcome. Going back to talk to some of these characters and being like, yep, I got my gun back, and what? Hey, look at all this money that I probably don't need. We'll see. Oh. Suddenly, your entire body is paralyzed. Aggressive white noise fills your skull. A strange pain like you've never felt before. Through the static, you hear a woman's voice. It's like 1,000 radio stations are being blasted into your head all at once. Her words are the only ones you can make out.
I know you're feeling pretty uncomfortable right now. Don't move too much or fight it. That'll just make it worse.
Says this shadowy figure by the machine.
Can't say it's a pleasure, officer. I was really hoping not to make your acquaintance. But here we are.
As she says the word officer, you feel a spike in the agony. It sounds like the entire radio frequency is screaming directly into your neural pathways. Cover your ears. Nobody. That's not going to help. You can't shield yourself from this. It's an entirely new type of experience, way worse than all the previous ones. Take one of those. Don't focus on the pain. Focus on your job. Tell her she's under your arrest. Are you going to kill me too?
No, I'm not going to fucking kill you. If that had been my plan, you'd be dead already. All things considered, I'm being pretty reasonable here. I'm using a pale latitude compressor. You and your partner have been caught in its field.
The explosion of static you're hearing is the ULAN frequency, blasted from the pale emitter Fat Angus mentioned. I saw your equations. It's the ULAN frequency.
Saw my equations? You've been sniffing through my lorry, right? I expected as much. Though I am a bit surprised you knew what you were looking at.
There's 136841. What's that?
The pale latitude compressor is used to sort of make the pail more manageable. With a lot of these, you can force a radio signal grid on the pail. Literally crunch the distance across it. Signals are relayed across a series of repeater stations fixed to buoys. Not a fun job manning those stations. All alone out there in the pail. People lose their minds in just a few years.
So, what we are experiencing is a concentration of radio waves.
He gestures towards something with great effort.
Precisely. This is an industrial strength paraboloid. It's meant for forcing dimensions on something that doesn't have them. Needless to say, the frequencies used are out of this world. At the upper limit is the large prime number generator station. It's used specifically for pale latitude compression. That's why you might be hearing some numbers. But you might also hear, or think you're hearing, local radio chatter.
She likes talking to you about the machine. Keep her talking. Look for an opportunity to break loose. What's this goddamn pail anyway?
Pail? It's the end of the world.
How'd you get your hands on this thing?
I built it myself.
She nods towards her torture device. And she's proud of it too. As she ought to. This is way beyond your
That's
abilities.
illegal. I'm guessing it's patented. But we are beyond that, aren't we?
Oh yeah, way beyond.
She studies her death ray and the law officials trapped in it. Will I stay like this forever?
No. Once I shut down the compressor, the pain will end. It may take a few minutes for you to steady yourself, though. It's a bit like walking out of a very confusing dream.
Okay. Have you experienced the compressor yourself?
Yeah, I stuck my head in there before using it on you. Seemed like the ethical thing to do. Can't say that I enjoyed it. The field was weaker, but I can imagine what you're going through.
This is all great. Let's talk about the man who was killed.
Yeah, let's not talk about that shit. You were hunting me and fell into my trap instead. That's all there is to say about it.
So she thinks of you as hunters, not cops, and herself merely as prey. Please, could you turn this thing down so I can ask you
If
something?
you've got something really important to say, you can do it through the white noise.
Oh, Rosaline, Rosaline.
Damn this.
God damn it.
She regards you and Kim with sudden
Fine.
sympathy.
If you really want to talk, I can dial it down. I've also got a gun, by the way.
She steps reluctantly out of the shadows. The pain lessens. The gun she's carrying is a 2-barreled front loader, not like the murder weapon. Well, it doesn't feel much better, but you can form sentences now. Thinking doesn't seem to hurt as much. There's only 3 meters between you and the machine. If you keep her distracted for long enough, maybe. Be careful when you make your move. That'll be it for questions. Bide your time. How did you know we were coming? I heard you in the passages, and I've been preparing for quite a while. By hiding bullets under floorboards? So you found my shack, huh? Not surprised. The tone is bitter. She thinks she's been betrayed. She didn't rat you out, by the way. Isabel, the washerwoman. So nice. She smiles a little smile. That's one knife I didn't want to find in my back. As opposed to the other knives she's finding there now. Hardy, for one. Preparing for the worst? I was, before I caught you in the pale latitude compressor. I'm fine now. That's her admitting the bullet was an emergency exit. Did you shoot Lely? No, I didn't do it. I only helped stage the lynching. Though, I doubt that makes much of a difference to you. So she says she didn't do it. She doesn't trust you. Is it you specifically or the citizens' militia that she distrusts? Ratted me out, by the way. Was it Titus? No. She hesitates. He wouldn't have broken first. You're right, Claudia was the first to share her suspicions. Oh, she smiles sadly. I knew that kitten had claws, but not like this. But she couldn't have known I was on the coast. How did you find me? Your first guess wasn't entirely off. Titus and his boys, ma'am. They told us you were on the coast. Even now, Kim is a paragon of professionalism. He's trying to make a clean cut of telling her she was betrayed. She pauses, taking it in. Well, those guys liked me. I know it. This is what happens to people who like me. A dull despair is creeping into her voice. How the F did the rest of you get by? Wait, wasn't it you who called me the human can opener? It's not personal. I opened them up. I did, didn't I? But now you've come for me, she scoffs. F them all the same. That did make her forgive them, a little. I do it by asking questions, and I have some for you. Like what? She adjusts her grip on the gun. I already told you I didn't do it. Strong moral compass. She still wants the opportunity to make a case for herself. Would you say that Lely was a likable person? I didn't like him. Hardened mercenaries aren't particularly likable types. There's nothing more personal than that you had, personal that you had against him? Perhaps his way with women? You think I was envious of his conquest? Look, pussy's not a problem for me, and definitely not a reason to off someone. You don't feel sympathy for mercs? It's hard work, or nah? Do you feel protective of the Union? Yeah, sure. And I didn't like Wild Pines sending those foreign hirelings. Me and a F-ton of other people around here. I guess I should probably pause when I go off to grab a snack, but anyway. Yeah, sure. And I didn't like the Wild Pines sending those foreign hirelings. Me and a F-ton of other people around here. I think I already read that, but whatever. She didn't hate him, okay? Got other questions. You have an alibi for when Lely was shot. Man, I was with the boys the whole night. Hope they at least bothered to impress that on you. There were 10 minutes they couldn't account for. Even the length of a toilet break. That wouldn't have been enough time. Hold on, no one takes a 15-minute leak. Look, F you, man. I might have also stopped by the bar. She speaketh the truth. Our investigation has shown that 15 minutes was just enough time to commit the murder. Wow, now I'm curious. Please explain. Play pinball much? No, not since I was 14 and hanging out in the only diner in Dardan. Haven't been to a low-risk, no-reward, no-reward game since moving into the city. Why? There's some mysterious pinball machines in some pretty mysterious rooms in the Whirling. Yeah, and probably some ghosts in the time of suzerain. I'm not really interested in supernatural mysteries. Wait, what kinds of mysteries interest you then? Not murder mysteries either, if that's what you're thinking. She looks you in the eye impassively, making clear she's not planning to comment on the matter any further. What about elevators? Do you like elevators? The F do elevators have to do anything? Do you or don't you? Not particularly. Why not? Why are you so hung up on elevators? It's a pretty good question, actually. She clearly doesn't know anything about the secret passage. Not even quaint old rickety ones. I'm not really into old shit for old shit's sake. God damn it, the lieutenant grabs his head. So, you know she's not an antiques enthusiast. Not my jurisdiction, man. But also doesn't sound like she used the secret route at all. Look, there's a secret way from the ground floor of the Whirling to the roof. Don't know it, but also, she frowned, studying your face. Evaluating your competence as a police officer. The shot couldn't have come from the roof, or we would have all heard it downstairs. She has a point there. No one mentioned. The pain stops him from finishing the sentence. You have a gun. And? Where'd you get it? The gun store. What gun store? Trigger Happy Jacks. That doesn't sound like the name of a real store. What do you think, that I'm going to squeal on the gun supplier? Sorry, not that kind of gal. See, it's a front loader. Do you have another gun somewhere? Sure don't. Breech loader? Nope. This is such a wipeout. I can't quite tell. What kind of gun is it? NAC-3 80 front loader. 2-barreled. Not really what you were looking for, I'm guessing. That isn't it. I know you don't like old things, but do you sell antique rifles on the side? Never got into weapons trafficking, especially not old weapons. They break too often. And you don't want unhappy customers among gun collectors. There's other evidence I want to ask you about. You like Clausia a lot. I consider her a good friend. Yeah. Is peeping one of your hobbies? Wow, pissing pinball. Now peeping. I'm just not following your insinuations, detectives. There's a hole in the wall. You can see into Clausia's room. And I wouldn't blame... it's just the hole in Clausia's wall is pretty suspicious. Look, I'm not aware of any hole in Clausia's wall. If I had been, I would have told her to get it sealed. That's what friends do. So you haven't been watching Clausia through the hole in the wall? Nope. Look, she has an effect on people. That je ne sais quoi that makes it impossible not to look at her when she walks into a room. And very difficult to look away. But travel enough and you realize, for the same reason that she's everyone's type, as an object of desire, she's not irreplaceable. You wanted to be more than friends. Oh, so that's where you're going with this. She said you wanted to run away with her. That's a very sentimental way of putting it. We both had pasts we didn't want to catch up with us. We enjoyed listening to music together. Why not go on a road trip? Lieutenant watches her expectantly, occasionally shaking from the pain. Okay, fine, she rolls her eyes. I was into her. Clausia was into me too. For a time. I know it. We even fooled around once. And yeah. After that, I thought maybe we could make a go of it. Clausia only said they maybe kissed. Someone's lying here. And what happened? She rejected me with some wishy-washy bullshit about how she was confused because she felt so close to me. I valued my friendship so much. How guilty she felt for leading me on. I knew it wasn't the whole story, but fine. I'll take it and move on. A little there. Wasn't a problem for her. Clausia said you got very angry when she started seeing Lely. Threatened her. Yeah, one time when we'd both been drinking. Said some heated things about how dangerous her patterns with men were. I was a little worried she'd blow it out of proportion in her head. All the drugs she was doing can make you feel like you were living in a DeLorean tragedy. And despite everything, you helped her by staging the lynching? Yeah. The girl seemed terrified. The merc was beyond caring what happened to his mortal coil. It was a no-brainer. Other things I want to ask about. Go ahead. It's your body. Mine too, he thinks. But keep on. This must be done. Do you like to hang out on rooftops? Who doesn't? Oh, you mean Clausia's rooftop. Sure, I've hung out there. She's got a grid antenna. But the only reason why you hung out on the rooftop View's pretty bomb, too. You might say the antenna was the main attraction there. Yeah, along with Clausia. What's so great about her antenna? Very powerful. It used it to tune into RCM frequencies. That's how I knew to be prepared for your arrival. Numbers, come in. So you're sure you didn't shoot the merc from the roof? Yeah, I'm sure. And anyway, as I said before, that shot had to have come from afar. You're running drugs for the Union. I've been through your lorry. She shakes her head. So, Heart of Gold Tommy effed me over, too. Never trust a musician. That really comes as a blow to her. No, I didn't. I found my own way in. Okay, great. You got into my lorry on your own. What now? You're going to arrest me for drug trafficking? Bitter smile. Beneath it, she's relieved Tommy didn't betray her. Let's see. You had a financial incentive to kill the merc. Man, it's to get away from all that murderous shit that I left Jamrock, my previous employer for the Union. The lieutenant's unable to articulate this question. She deliberately avoided naming the mob she worked for. You might be able to find this out later. She turns the knob down just a millimeter and then continues. I got lucky being a dispatcher. Never had to do any of the really dirty work myself. This gun, she glances at it, has only been used for self-defense against serious scum. There. It's going to be easier to reach the machine now. But you're threatening us with it. Based on what I've heard about you, you are serious scum. She responds, holding your gaze. Okay, let's take a step back. Yeah, where? Who killed the merc if it wasn't you? How should I know? As I keep saying, he was already had a bullet in his head when I got to him. There hasn't been any useful gossip over the radio. Those rings around her eyes, the tired voice, she's been staying up late listening to conversations crisscrossing Martinez. Police radio, you've been following the case? Who hasn't? She shrugs. You know, I can still see him there, in Clausia's room, lying on the side. He was still warm, but the bluish light coming through the broken window made him look as though he'd been dead for a good long while. What happened Sunday night? Tell me your version. She eyes you warily, as if gauging your sincerity. She's refusing to adopt the demeanor of a concerned animal, or a cornered animal. A leader with no one to lead. She still wants to retain some control of the situation. It's okay, we wanna... He struggles to finish the sentence. Alright, don't kill yourself over it. I was shooting the shit with the Hardy Boys over a few beers, like always. Then Clausia comes in, all pale and shuddering. She sits down with a drink, trying to steady her nerves. So I grab a seat next to her. Clausia said you knew something was wrong immediately. No, I really didn't. She's not that easy to read. I just assumed she'd done too much blow. It wouldn't be the first for her, but no. No such luck. She was in deep shit. She asked me to come upstairs. The merc she'd been going out with was lying on the bedroom floor, dead. Knew she shouldn't get the couldn't get the authorities involved, so yeah. It made it look like he'd been hanged. Clausia said you seemed to have a plan when you got there. What? No, faking a lynching was her idea. Her idea? Yeah, in cold blood. It really surprised me. How quickly she was able to get a hold of herself once we got up there. It was like she was another person. The party girl was gone. She asked me to help her drag him into the shower so she could wind the shower head around his neck. Big lividity. Then she dressed him while I went to get the Hardy Boys. Clausia knew exactly what she was doing. You can't remain calm under pressure otherwise. Showerhead. Resourceful. Yeah, I wasn't sure whether to admire her or be disturbed. Do you think she killed Lily herself? As I keep telling you cops, we didn't hear anything downstairs. No gunshot, nothing. But even if this is true, the lieutenant forces himself to finish the sentence. Weren't you worried this lynching might lead to... war? She purses her lips. The thought crossed my mind, but the mercenary's death was going to have repercussions either way. Although, the way things are going, she doesn't want to talk about this. But not because she has something to hide. She doesn't want the guilt. F it. I'm not responsible for these people after what they did to me. If you didn't kill them, why hide? I saw you roll into town. I wasn't about to stick around for questioning by a goddamn Puta Madre agent. A goddamn Puta Madre agent. So this is what she was scared to tell Titus. This cop. What do you mean, La Puta Madre agent? She looks at you quizzically. Yes, you. Everyone says you're his peony, his human can opener. The sudden sharp pain in your head. You hear the lieutenant mumble something to himself. Am I a dirty cop? Maybe. Effing hell, and why me? You hear through the white noise. It's especially bad suddenly. It felt like a vein exploded. Bullshit, you're trying to throw me off. No one says that. Oh, yes, they do. The cops, the criminals. Why do you think I'm holed up here with a goddamn death ray waiting for you? If she knows that about you, she must know your real name, too. Tell me, what's my name? If you know that about me, you must know my name. Harry Dubois, she replies quickly. One corrupt mother effer with a disco pants and a funny tie. Agent to La Puta Madre. Or La Puta Madre. She knows your name. That doesn't mean you're on the take. Criminals make up boogeyman stories about cops all the time. All this means that you're effective. Criminals know you and are scared of you. Puta Madre. I've heard of La Puta Madre. He's dangerous, right? Is that a joke or a threat? I'm guessing both. Both. No, that was a real question. Yeah, sure. She doesn't believe you. I'm sure La Puta Madre will explain it all to you soon enough. What did you do to this Madre anyway? You've been to my lorry. You think the biggest player in Jamrock appreciates competition? She pauses. And I have Harry can opener in my lair. F and Titus. I thought we had an agreement, she thinks. This was not supposed to happen. Wait. One thing, possibly small. She said you rolled into town. Was that you singular or plural? She might know something. When I came into town, was there anyone with me? Yeah, you had your death squad with you. What happened to them anyway? Who was in this squad? Oh, I wasn't this scrawny dude. She nods towards the lieutenant. You had two guys and a lady. The guys look pretty buff. The lady wasn't bad either. What else can you tell me? One of the guys seemed chipper, a blonde, and the other had a brooding something or other about him. And the woman was the only one in uniform. All were carrying. She narrows her eyes. That sound about right? No idea who these people are. Literally. Satellite Officer Vic Marr looks out the window grimly and then puts his coffee down and turns to Patrol Officer Minot. You can either take a room here in the Whirling or go home today. Let's go home, Rajan. Nothing's gonna happen today, she responds quietly. Thun takes his blonde wig off. Call Heidelstamm. He can give us a ride. I think I know them. They're in Martinez. Friction lock set. Don't leave me here. Please call Celsi. Fantastic. I've got to get on the road. Then you can find your friends, unless there's anything pressing to ask me. Do you know about the bunker next door? What bunker? Just a bunker. Have you been there? Don't know anything about it. No one's been around since I set up camp. I'm sure I'm not the first vagabond to. Her voice trails off into the white noise in your head. Feels like an aneurysm is approaching. This would have killed me. Starburst and sunshine. Nudged it during drugs talk. A momentary window of clarity. Destroy the machine. I'm surprised she doesn't shoot me for this. You did it. The compressor lies broken on its side. It's quiet in your head again. Hurts like hell, but... You okay, Kim? Lieutenant hunches over, recovering. All good, officer. Be careful. She looks at the machine, assessing the damage. Her hand trembles. F it. She puts the barrel of the gun into her mouth. What are you doing? Problem solving, she mutters. Man, put the gun down. That's not the solution to your problems. You are... Oh, yes, it is. Convince her to put the gun down. You should know the words to say. You've been here yourself. So why is it not coming to you? Why am I standing here like an idiot? Because you've been going around pointing a gun at yourself, trying to answer the same question in vain. Her finger squeezes the trigger now. But she doesn't deserve to die like this. No, wait, finally comes to you. A way to connect with her. I know your pain. I've been let down by women too. Wow. She flashes you an incredulous grin. Then exhales sharply, shakes her head, and pulls the trigger. I should have put more points into that. That was rhetoric. Isn't my rhetoric, like, lower or something? Or just bad? Where is rhetoric? There it is. That's unsatisfying. Yeah. Time travel. Okay, let's try this again. I don't like the fact that this and the next thing are entirely up to just RNG. Like, I feel like, I don't know, her blowing her head off should not be a coin flip on whether or not our character manages to figure this business out. Because it just, that feels kind of unsatisfying. I'm fine with most of these RNG options, but, like, that one's not so great. Okay, rhetoric. I'm just gonna put a point in. I'll be fine. I boosted it a little bit, but I need it to be higher. There's rhetoric. Boy, my rhetoric is high. This is silly. She's truly desperate, and she thinks she has no other options. You need to give her options. What options? You know. Maybe I can still talk her out of it? This is how you talk her out of it. It's the only scenario in which she lives. Please, just walk away. She stares at you, frozen, the gun still in her mouth, eyes filled with dark intensity. Then something shifts in her. Gratitude, doubt. She's still ready to go. Her neck and shoulders relax, and her grip on the gun loosens. You don't have to do this. You're not cornered. I'm letting you go. Day of miracle, she says, pulling the gun out of her mouth, eyes still fixed on you. Then she turns her gaze to the tunnel behind you. I'll take it. She runs past you, then past the lieutenant, and disappears into the darkness of the tunnel. Good call, the lieutenant. He is still unsteady on his feet. I guess that's the point. I should have let her go earlier. I just felt like she had more to tell us. Oh well. You sure? Yeah, I'm sure. He has to catch his breath. I would have done the same thing had I not been incapacitated. He couldn't take it like you. It irks him. Then he gets over it. What if we just let the murderer go? I have a feeling we didn't. He looks around, then points to the back of the cavern. Her tent. We should check it out. That's kind of a neat little place. But also very unstable. Dark water trails into the distance. There's no way out. Cooking utensils. She's prepared herself porridge with bananas. Drowning. The plain red tent stands by dispassionately. It was pitched by practiced hands. She's used to camping out. Look inside. The tent looks old but well maintained. In the darkness of the tent, a rolled up sleeping bag, cooking utensils, some books, and a kerosene lamp. It reeks of cigarettes. Shine your flashlights on the books. Assorted softcovers, mostly pulp horror. A motor carriage lies buried in the snow on one cover. On another, a ghost airship. You see a collection of radio enthusiast magazines. Lieutenant peeks over your shoulder. See anything? Sift through the magazines. Rega Monthly, Journal of Material Science, more Technological Digest. One of the magazines doesn't have images on the cover. It's not a magazine, it's a leather notebook. Notebook, take it. Pocket the worn brown leather journal. A trusted friend left behind. We should read this immediately, like right now. Thick journal, cover's worn, like someone used to carry it around in their back pocket. Examine the cover. It's made of full-grain leather. The lower left corner of the back cover sports an embossed brand name, Schneller. Schneller is a stationery brand from Gottwald, beloved among architects and engineers. She's got good taste and must have taken whatever she recorded here seriously. Unwind the strap. The journal falls open. About 2/3 of its ruled pages have been filled. Study the handwriting. Large cursive of someone who writes quickly and confidently. Perhaps too confidently. Many phrases and even paragraphs have been crossed out, with tiny corrections scrawled above and in the margins. Sounds like me. Look through the pages. It's a mix of logistical notes, diagrams, and personal reflections, all dated. It's good she left in a hurry. We could learn a lot from this. What kind of logistics? Hard to tell exactly. It's mostly noted down in code. Looks like contact information, quantities, directions. There could be useful information about local operations in those notes. I'll have a junior sergeant at my station who's good with codes. I'll give this to her and we can finish after we finish this. What are the diagrams of? Esoteric radio technology. The most recent ones probably pertain to the latitude compressor, sketches, calculations of distance, and density. You make out a familiar spiral shape. Anything personal. Short, wry observations of people and places. Probably a way to pass the time on the radio. Also what appear to be attempts to sort through some difficult questions. There are a few passages with many questions in them. The way some of those question marks trail off into ellipses. She was going through a tough time. Staff issues. Always tough on leadership. You smell traces of betrayal. How far back do the entries go? First entry is from August 2nd of last year. Read simply, I know my position is precarious. All I can do is make myself as useful as I can while looking for a way out. Remember, no one is indispensable. What did she write the day Leslie died? Nothing. March 4th. March 5th, though. Well, that's bound to come back and bite me in the ass. I'm bad at this. Loyal to a fault, except that's another matter entirely. She's referring to betraying her previous employer. Does this suggest she did it in self-defense? Anything about the Puta Madre? Name isn't mentioned as far as you can tell. Small wonder. Would you talk about La Puta Madre in your journal? We see an M, though. La Puta Madre? M is mentioned March 9th and March 15th. 9th first. Great. M's peony is coming to town. No doubt to investigate the lynching. But also, I feel in my gut to finally put a bullet in my head. While I'm napping in my lorry on a smoke break, well, I won't stick around just to twist my own neck by constantly looking over my shoulder. Then again, isn't that what I've been doing ever since I got the call? The call. Did M call her personally? Why? Were you supposed to find her, even apart from your investigation then? And M's request. No, you wouldn't do something like this. This must be a mistake. This is a coincidence. I'd never kill people for a mob boss. The thought steadies your nerves. The journal stops shaking in your hand. 12th. I've been holed up here for 3 days now. I'm used to being alone and all, but I don't know when I'll be able to leave, or if I'll be ratted out. They will rat me out, of course. I made it to the point to believe in the best people, the boys for example, but experience tells me. Did M feel truly betrayed by me? I was feeling threatened. You'd have to know if he threatened people, they'd take measures to protect themselves. Even I know that. Economic measures, first of all. Gotta make a living, right. I can still feel his voice on the receiver. Taste the plastic. The entry ends abruptly. The call was a courtesy. He must have held her in high regard to personally tell her he knew about her plan to run drugs for the competition. It's the most recent entry. Most recent entry is from today. It reads, even when I leave here, if I leave here alive, what's my next move? Staging a lynching is a crime, even if I'm not accused of murder on top of that. Forever on the run? Not really my idea of the open road. Man, I was really looking forward to winning. Lieutenant taps on the page. Looks like she might have been framed. That would be the first or a fourth. A first or a fourth. But who's counting, he thinks. Very rarely does anyone actually get framed. If she didn't do it, then maybe it's good that we didn't really catch her. I wouldn't go far as to say that. We have other reasons to arrest her. He frowns. Besides, I'm not sure if her life as a fugitive is going to be much better than with us, especially if she has problems with the Madre. Kim, am I really a La Puta Madre agent? He looks at you straight in the eye for a moment, then sighs. No, I don't think you are. Ask someone in your precinct if you want to be sure. He does not believe that you are. Perhaps you shouldn't be so trusting. And who do you think killed the merc? Fazio is the one who pointed the finger at Ruby. Perhaps she was trying to steer us away from herself, or stops to think. No one heard the shot. Maybe she had an accomplice. Either way, we need to keep an eye on her. One thing is for certain. We have business back in the Whirling in Rags. Questions to ask. We should get to it. I thought we were like at the climax, but I guess not. Hey! Jamais vu. So, Encyclopedia down, extra EXP for every orb clicked, and all learning caps raised by 1. Jamais vu. The opposite of deja vu. Not already seen, but never seen. Everything that should be familiar appears strange and new, like some half-forgotten day in your childhood. Only now. That's the feeling you've been having. And for who knows how long. You should go and ask Joyce Messier about this. What world are we in? This is the fundamental question. Okay, I guess let's get outside. Yeah, so I could have just let her go without breaking the machine. Still seems weird. But I guess... I don't know, this is strange. I can't tell if everything just opened back up again, or if we're closer than when we began, which I guess is kind of the point. This is a good mystery. I do get the distinct feeling that it's currently a third party that we haven't even met yet, which is a bit spooky, because there's only so many of... There's that island. Like, whatever it is, that island on the map is important. Freaking... In real life, a random innocuous island would not be a Chekhov's gun. In a video game, it 100% is.
You're back. Good. What can I help you with?
Reality. What is... What is all of this? The scent, the sound, the air. What world is this? What world? The fading pearls of her eyes look to the sea. The only one, I suppose. The world of matter and its pale antipode. The camera in her mind glides over the surface of the water. What do you see? Great bodies of water, forest-covered surfaces, clusters of light where the cities lie. You've seen the montage. We all have. This world is enough, she concludes. A frisson lifts the hair on the back of your arm. Wind sweeps over the surface of the bay. The wind is sweeping the waters. The world is a suzerainty of Revachol. There's a term of endearment they coined for it. In the DeLorean century, when humanity was high on this world, discovering more and more of it, these archipelagos included. What is it? Elysium. Elysium, the world needs a term of endearment. It does. There are those who would call it hell. What is hell? A term of hatred that originates, like many things, with the mesk of petrofascists. I don't feel like I've gotten the whole picture yet. But you want a picture of the world? She raises her finger to her lips. There's no complete set yet, dear. You're having some trouble reaching orbit. How come? Great things are difficult to achieve. For now, we're reviewing the world from the inside, sideways. How about it's a ball? That's looking less and less likely, Detective. You wouldn't know it from the tabloids, but the Origid nations have been launching weather balloons into the lower ionosphere since the 30s. Orgy, Occident, Revachol, Grad. There's a steadily increasing trickle of images. Between the big three, they're piecing together a dark gray corona. A dark gray corona? Yes, she pauses. Pale covers 72% of the surface. There are gray flares and prominences even above the entire isolas. The images are blurry, but if there was a sphere in there, it certainly looks like it fractured a long time ago. Cold fear seeps into you. Wait, what the hell are you telling me? You seem to be spooked. Please don't be. Her voice becomes homely, calm. But let's a moment pass. The pale, and what do you mean corona? They say there's a rarefied envelope of matter surrounding the darkened disk of our planet. That is, if we are living on a planet, or to speak more plainly, imagine a vast swaths of land disrupted by nothingness. I'm sorry, dear. It must sound quite terrifying. Through the acute encephalopathy. Even scientific positivism isn't entirely convinced about what we're dealing with here. But this is one of the great questions of our time. Maybe when they get the complete set together, it'll jolt us from our rut. Bring us together, however naive it might sound. Fractured corona doesn't sound like it's going to bring anyone together. So wait, flat Earth, but there's like just actual void? Not space, but void. That's terrifying. You've misimagined it. I don't have the power to convey to you the effect and geometry of the images that depict our world from below lower orbit. It's like the crowning of the world. It's insane. Very disco. You'd love it. Doesn't sound like any kind of disco I'd like to go to. But you already have. She looks around you, and you're doing just fine, despite the rubble. The cold seeps into you. The air is heavy with 80% humidity. Suddenly you're conscious of yourself standing there on whatever this all is. Your arms hang down by your sides. The lieutenant observes you both silently. He adjusts his glasses. You said pale. What is pale? Pale is not, technically speaking, part of reality. Yes, the lieutenant looks at his watch. Also, I think we've had enough excitement for today. We do have a case to attend to. His voice is low, but firm. All she can say is, "Of course, Lieutenant." She bows, turns to you. Let's try something else. I don't want to. I want to know what the pale is. I don't think your colleague would appreciate that. He has been so patient with this whole exercise. Let's continue with something else, alright? She leans against the railing. You can ask about anything else in the world. Anything. You could sneak back later when the lieutenant's not here. Unless you can convince him to step aside. Good idea. Just ask him. He won't make a scene. Can I talk to the man alone for a second? Fine. He steps away with his notes. See? What can he do? You're a grown man. So what's the pale? Are you sure? Your colleague seemed adamant. Yes, what is the pale? Okay, she concedes. The pale is the most dominant geological feature of the world, detective. The separative tissue between the isolas. It is the inter-isolary mass. And what is an isola? Isola is a Mycenaean word for a continent of matter, enveloped on all sides by the pale, also isolation or landmass. We used to believe that there was only one. In the last 4 centuries, we have discovered 7. Mundi, Seol, Samara, Ilmara, Grad, Katla, and this Insulid. An insulid is an oceanic isola. It comprises mostly of water. Mundi is the largest, Katla the coldest, Insulid the bluest. What can I say? She stops. Each is perishing and dear. Okay, what's the pale like? Achromatic, odorless, featureless. The pale is the enemy of matter and life. It's not like any other or anything in the world. It is the transition state of being into nothingness. The negation of being. That's right. The negation of being. She tightens her hood around her neck. It's cold outside. Is it here? No, detective, we're safe. She points to the sea. It begins there, 6,000 kilometers to the north, and even more to the south, east, and west. You're in the middle of the Isola. As your gaze instinctively turns north, a small black pit opens in your stomach. 6,000 kilometers from the end of the world, or point north. And there? An uproar of matter, darling, rising into the pale, rolling, evaporating even. A great vision. The area of transition between the world and the pale is called porch collapse. Imagine a gray coronal mist, a cold vapor marked by spores of an opportunistic microorganism. A mold that's adapted to grow at the edge of unrest. She closes her eyes and breathes out heavily. The most disco thing you will ever see. What are the physical qualities? It's difficult to describe or even measure. Something whose fundamental property is the suspension of properties. Physical, epistemological, linguistic. The further into the pale you travel, the steeper the degree of suspension, right down to the mathematical. Numbers stop working. No one has yet passed the number barrier. It may be impossible. There's a slippery article in there. Is it the pale or pale? Pale when it's singular. This territory of pale, the pale when it's entirety. Once you've seen it, she tosses her head. Language balks at the difference. If we're surrounded by pale, how do you get from Isola to Isola? Oh, her lungs deflate. Her words sound like a sigh. It's so difficult for us. A squall of birds, hardware operating operating in the harbor. Firm, self-evident. It's possible to force dimensions on the pale. In modern times, we can even compress its latitude, bouncing radio waves from one end to the other, shortening the path. But it's still hard for humans to navigate the pale without getting lost, or having our minds damaged. How could the pale damage the mind? Extensively. How? Some say the damage stems from extreme sensory deprivation. Others, that the pale somehow consists of past information. That's degrading. That's its rarefied past, not rarefied matter. They call it the blend over the self. The pale does not suspend the laws of physics, but also the laws of physiology, maybe history even. The human mind becomes over-radiated by past. Who says and who argues? The logical positivists say. The dialectical materialists argue. What does this overradiation feel like? It feels terrible. Absolutely terrible. International standards strictly limit civilian travelers to 6 days of pale exposure per year. It's more for her. Way more. You're not a civilian passenger? No, Lieutenant Dubois. I'm anthroponetic business class. I'm cleared and trained for 22 days of pale transit annually. Someone else you've met may have been exposed as well. This strange gray-haired woman in her lorry. Do lorry drivers pass the pale? Yes, carried in the hulls of airships. She nods. It's a horrific job. Automation will abolish it soon. You should ask the pale driver about this. See what she says. Poor woman must have stories to tell you like you wouldn't imagine. Are you overradiated? Up to my gills, officer. What's anthroponetic? Anthroponetic, she corrects, is the scientific study of the pale, or a recent iteration of it, by way of Grodd. The study of the pale reaches back 6,000 years. The Percarnassians called it the Western Plain. They had not traveled the entire circumference of the Percarnassian superisola. It was not merely in the west, it was everywhere, even then surrounding them. Did they cross it, the Western Plain? There are signs of pre-modern crossings. Successful navigation of the pale relies not just on technical know-how, but intensive psychological preparation. Some of these tactics have been known for thousands of years. What has anthroponetics caused then? Or changed then? Nothing. Remain powerless before the pale. The only real advance in pale transit is the speed in which an aerostatic craft can pierce it. Less exposure leads to less effects later. Aerostatic craft? Hybrid airships, Detective. Conventional rotors or jet engines no longer add velocity after the point of reference for motion is suspended. Once you've crossed from near pale to far pale, in essence, we throw them in, and they come out the other end. If we throw them in precisely. If we do not, then they don't. Gone, like a skipping stone beneath the surface. How much pale is there compared to the world? The pale outweighs reality 2 to 1. There's more pale than there is matter, and the ratio is slipping. Slipping how? For a detriment or... What do you think, Detective? She looks at you in the eye. It's shrinking. There's more and more of the world. Oh no, Detective, it's not. One of the few measurable effects of the pale is that it is expanding at an unknown rate. An intuitive conclusion of that development is that one day the pale will cover everything, but this sort of talk is mostly left to extremists. Cover everything? That can't be. Where would we go? Most people, and indeed most private and government sector organizations, entire civilizations, and religions even, find handy ways to ignore or downplay that knowledge. I suggest you do the same. Off we go. You see the hangman's mouth open. Off you go into the wild pale yonder. One and all, she closes her eyes. They say pale is death, but for the universe. Why should we just leave, and the world get left behind? Let's return to reality, please. Yes, sweet reality. She stomps her foot. Well, before we go, tell me, Detective, is this the first time you hear of this? Do you really not remember anything? I sometimes sense vague shadows of the past, and it's not good. Then tell me, what do you think of the pale? That we continue to exist at all is a testament to our faith in another. Her eyes tense. Crow's feet radiate from them. She observes you, your bloodshot eyes and your swollen face. You really didn't know. This does not spell good for the investigation, Detective. If you don't know even this, then... She stops mid-sentence. This investigation will be my masterpiece. The one they remember me by. I promise. I hope so, I truly do. If I may suggest, hold on to your colleague Kitsuragi. I ran a check on him, and he's very competent. In the meanwhile, some of that assurance is meant for herself. As much as it's meant for you. She must have a lot on the line here. You have me. I will assist you in any way I can, even if we have to do it one basic term at a time. She gives you a slight bow. Good, the Lieutenant returns. You have not passed out from it. Perhaps I worried for nothing. Are we still on the reality lowdown, or should we do actual police work now? Alright, let's get to work, Lieutenant. Goodbye. Good luck, detectives. She nods to you goodbye.